Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh, thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get everything you need to do in the cloud. Perhaps you have a child that's about to be a senior in high school and you got to start thinking about colleges. You got the data sets. You got your college tour plans. You got to print out all the stuff. A Kyocera printer in the house actually might work out for you on that, right? Not bad.
Yeah.
So check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Pretty busy Sunday for an off-season protocol summer, huh?
You often tell me where there's a lot to get into, and I, quite frankly, think you're full of shit. But
yeah,
today is not one of those days.
It's funny. I had the UNC baseball game on in the background while I was doing some other stuff. Just kind of, it's on. I'm paying attention to it. And baseball is like the perfect sport to be, I don't know, cleaning off your counter and going through the mail that's been piling up over time. I should get all that stuff in the cloud if you think about it, thanks to Copiers Plus. And I noticed a pattern for Carolina baseball. They kept leaving dudes stranded. That's not a recipe for winning. And then you combine that with me opening up my phone, checking Blue Sky, and people losing their minds over the French Open final, where Alcaraz was down, left for dead, essentially, and then he starts to come back and ends up winning that thing in a match that lasted 5.5 hours. Please see a doctor. Okay. So I kind of got roped into watching that stuff. It delayed my pool time. I was like, well, damn it, I'm invested now.
I'm in now.
I'm in. And I'm like, it's one of those things where I understand tennis isn't really on my radar on a day-to-day. But as you're watching this, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I know this Alcaraz guy is good. And then you go look it up real quick. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. He's a baby, number one. Two, wait a minute. He hasn't lost in a Grand Slam final?
Yeah, when he goes out, you got to get him before you get to that last round.
So if you see this man in a final, it's over for you.
And the last couple have been completely and totally improbable within that final, just like yesterday against Jannik Sinner.
Yes,
I like to call Jannik Sinner the fake Italian.
Okay,
he's Italian, but he's like a ginger, and so like those super northern. My dad's side of the family is from Sicily, Calatafimi.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's like some built-in like politics there of who you like and who you don't like. Yes. Like it was a really big deal. My dad's mom's family is from Naples, the Neapolitans. The center of the world. So they look down upon the Calatafimians, the Sicilians for super obvious reasons.
For obvious, well,
right?
Hey, same thing with Alcaraz, right?
Right.
Dude's a Spaniard. I'm watching him. I'm like, I bet you there's some sort of Ovies, down the line. Cause, as my dad likes to tell me, he's like, yeah, you got some blonde and blue eyed, like second and third cousins back in Spain, but that's not where our line came from. And I'm watching Alcaraz. I'm like, man, you could be related. Just saying.
So Sinner is not only fake Italian, but he's also the one who he got busted for a steroid test.
Yeah.
But they gave him the lamest punishment possible.
It's tainted meat, right?
They said you can play in the Australian Open, a major.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to suspend you for like 2.5 months until the next major, the French Open.
Right.
So now he's here competing. He gets to the final.
Big Bobby Bowden energy.
He
suspension.
He has Alcaraz dead to rights in this match.
He does.
And recently, I hesitated to send you this because I'm like, it's just tennis. Joe's not going to care. Recently, he played in a tournament, Alcaraz, where the person was serving, the shot was in, but it was called out.
Mm-hmm.
He actually went to the umpire and said, no, that was in.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy he was playing was like, Carlos, like,
you're giving this to me?
You're going to give this to me?
You're going to concede this?
They called it out. You know this, right? He's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
So that was some random, like one of these satellite tournaments.
He did it on Sunday.
He did it yesterday. Yeah. And now Clay, it's a little bit eeasier. He walks up, points to the spot.
It's obvious.
And he goes, hey, that was in.
Yeah.
You realize yesterday these guys played, you said 5.5 hours.
5.5 hours.
They played 384 points. 384 points. Sinner won 193. Alcaraz won 192. It was that close.
Yeah.
It was that close. And here he is, the karma king of the world, going in there and giving up the point because it was the right thing to do. It was like that ad that triggers people about the kid with the basketball. It's like, I think it's a Latter-day Saints ad where he's like, no. The ball went off of me.
No. I think what you're referring to, the modern version of those Latter-day Saints commercials, is the whatever, pass it on. You've seen those PSAs, right? Mm-hmm. Although I did have to mute the tennis match yesterday because Kelly at one point was like, what are you watching? Because Alcaraz is always, I'm like, I know, it sounds like me going up and down the attic to get the Christmas stuff out just for 5.5 hours.
And think of the way we're already talking about Alcaraz, and there's a very specific reason for this.
He's
22.
Right. Yeah.
There's a very specific reason for this. You and I talked a little bit about this last summer when Joker had won Wimbledon. Mm-hmm. Joker is not likable. Okay? By all amounts, Novak Djokovic has the best resume in the history of men's tennis. And not only that, he did it against two of the other all-time greats who he has a sterling record against. Mm-hmm. But we do not have warm and fuzzies about Joker because he's not likable.
And it's not because of his vax status
either.
This happened before.
Way before.
Before people get in the comments or whatever, understand to your point about the Joker, this happened before all that. That only just added to how people feel about him.
So we are so thirsty for the next tennis star to replace Joker that we're all like, okay. And now you have this guy who is like a puppy. He's super likable. Yeah. He's out here calling points on his opponents.
He's got the people in the stands doing the vamos. It's
He's celebrating with the ball girls and boys. I don't know if you saw that, where he's carrying the trophy back through the stage there on his way to the press conference, and all the boys and girls who were working in the tournament were cheering for him. And he's 22.
Yeah.
Some of them are probably 15 and 16. So this is good for tennis. Mm-hmm. Now, the one overreaction I would like to caution people against, though, is now Sinner. It's Alcaraz and Sinner. We just had the big three. Now we have the big two. Just slow down on Sinner. History is dotted with a bunch of players like Sinner. Okay.
Yeah, they have their moment. They have their moment, and then we never hear from them again.
I do not believe in the sustainability of Sinner. I'm also not saying that Alcaraz is going to become the all-time leader in Majors 1. But obviously, he is the present and the future of men's tennis.
Yeah, so that was, it was just kind of a funny Sunday where I had all these other plans to do stuff. And next thing you know, I'm just getting wrapped up. I'm like, I'm on the couch.
It's a lot like the Masters. It's a lot like the Masters. You don't follow golf, but all of a sudden you have something that's compelling, and that's what sports does. That's what it does.
And that's what also, to the point of social media. Social media is still at least important for me in that I would not have been compelled to turn it on, the tennis match, had it not been for people freaking out on their timeline about Alcaraz coming back down from 2 sets. So I was like, all right, let's see what this is about. And yeah, man, I got wrapped up in it. And then it just delayed my Butcher's Market grilling at the pool later that afternoon. The brat, dude, they do a Philly. We'll do the Butcher's Market thing later, but
that's fine.
They have a Philly cheesesteak brat.
That's allowed.
It's a beef brat with cheese, peppers, and onions in the casing. Dude.
We'll have to try that.
Dude. Much like a lot of Carolina fans called the sports phone with dude. Let's go to the sports phone, shall we? Because some Carolina baseball fans were going through it yesterday.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
Of course, the Sports Zone is brought to you by Nature's Relief. Check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF, hempstore.com. They deliver. So you want those gummies to chill you out after yet another heartbreaking loss for the Tar Heels on the diamond? They'll deliver for you. So naturesreliefhempstore.com. Let's go to a 919.
All I hope is whenever I die, Mike Fox, Scott Forbes, Andrew Miller, Kyle Seager, Jackson Van de Break, Vance Honeycutt, Gavin Galler, Luke Stevenson. Some of those guys are still kicking, so they can let me down one last time as a pallbearer at my funeral, because good God, man. That error, not being able to turn 2 in the 8th, what a brutal way to lose. I don't think Carolina will ever win the College World Series, and I know it's the hardest tournament to win, in all of sports, Giglio, but damn, man, how many times do they have to flirt with it and break my heart? Anyway, love the show, guys. Thank you.
And nobody feels it like college baseball fans in the area, man. They want it. They want it bad. Both Carolina State, they want it bad. Here's another 919.
Hello, Mr. Ovies, Mr. Giglio. I just got done watching Carolina lose to Arizona in Game 3 by 1 run. Seems like the first 2 games were runs galore. These two, total of 7 between the two of them. What happened? I know you guys are some, state people. Love you either way. Just saying, what happened? It's been 40 years between Scott Frost and Mike Fox and FedEx, that old UNC catcher that went to the Bulls for a while. It's been a long time of really high quality Carolina baseball, and they can't do it. What's their issue? Thanks, guys.
And this is from a 910.
I am in Ramcat deck trying to get out. I will give NC State that they do parking decks better than Carolina. That was, that was brutal. I'm just impressed at how Carolina baseball always finds a way to just break me. But we'll be back next March, next February, gearing up for the season. And I'll be ready to be hurt again.
I'm not laughing at the pain. I'm just laughing at the consistency we have in this area when it comes to baseball. And I'm reminded that those who are hardcore into college baseball, whether it's a Carolina fan or a State fan, where they've flirted with success, they've gone to the College World Series. They've had teams they don't expect to go to the College World Series, go to the College World Series, you believe, and then they have the heartbreak. I'll say this. I know one of the callers brought up the error. Fine, I get it. I know you have a truth bombs-esque moment here, locked and loaded. But for me, sometimes baseball, you don't have to overcomplicate it. If you leave runners on base, you're going to screw yourself. If you leave runners on base, you're going to screw yourself. And that's exactly what Carolina did in this, go to the College World Series, winner-take-all situation against Arizona. They went 5 of 31 overall and 2 of 13 with runners on base. You're not going to win that way. You're straight up not going to win that way. Arizona only left 3 runners stranded for the entire day. It's that simple sometimes. And you throw in college pitching and things like that. Hey man, it's anybody's guess. But there also was a moment in that game that you're just kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah, let's first give Carolina credit for real. They've been to the College World Series 8 times since 2006. That Mike Fox run was 4 years in a row, starting in 06.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've been, if not the best program in baseball, certainly the best program in college baseball without a national championship.
Easy.
Okay.
Easy. And the other thing too is that they have the financial support. They have a great situation at Carolina, Carolina. And yet, it's maddening.
So that's baseball. Like it doesn't, when I say that's baseball, Vanderbrake hits the home run to make it 3-1 early in the game. He's their star. You're watching him round the base. He's got the captain on his shirt. You're like, okay, this is how the world's supposed to work. Your best players have to be your best players. Except in the 8th inning, when he makes an error that kind of starts the ball rolling.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden you're thinking like some of these fans in the parking lot and in the parking deck, and you're going through the autopsy and you're going, my God, that 8th inning, what a mess. And that's fine. He's got to make the play initially. You get through those outs, you get those outs.
Of course. Grab my water.
However, if you go back and you watch how the game-winning hit produced 2 runs, this goes back. This is nothing to do with Carolina, as people call in. Your state, you're this, you're that. This has nothing to do with that. This has something to do with analytics in college baseball. Carolina was one of the earliest movers, if not the earliest mover, on hiring someone to be an analytical person to integrate into how they approach college baseball.
Yeah.
In Major League Baseball, analytics were the way of Major League Baseball to the point where they had to ban the shift, right? This is about the shift. This is about taking pitches, working counts. Walks are just as valuable as hits. Home runs are more valuable than regular hits, so on and so forth. I'm not sitting here being an anti-Bill James person. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
On the Major League level, analytics has always made sense.
Mm-hmm.
You have an even set of data. You have a clean set of data. There are 30 Major League Baseball teams. Every single pitcher in the major leagues has major league stuff. That's how they got to the major leagues.
Yes.
Okay. In college baseball, and I remember I had an editor back at the News and Observer back in the day in the mid-aughts when it was, oh man, college baseball is the thing. We got to cover college baseball the same way we cover college basketball and college football. All of us were kind of like, are you sure? And we would cover these games, and the response was what you probably expected. The hardcore cared, but for the most part,
I had the same conversation at Capital Broadcasting where they wanted us all in on college baseball, cover it like you would basketball, and we had very similar results. The hardcore niche were into it. That's why it made more sense for a podcast than it did for, say, over the air talk.
So that we go to these games, and I remember when Carolina introduced analytics.
Yeah,
and my first thought was, okay, now I get what you're saying. The shift works in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
I understand that, but why? That's a data set of 30 teams. There's an equal footing of pitching. There's a baseline of what pitching is.
Mm-hmm.
It never made sense to me, even 10 years ago, that college baseball would use the shift in analytics. What Arizona's left-handed hitter did against the Community College of Pacific Palisades has nothing to do with the pitching that you're offering at North Carolina.
Yeah, the data's all over this.
There's 300 plus college baseball teams.
And there's the quality. It's not just the number; it's the quality variance of those 300 baseball teams.
That's fairly simple, right? To the point where this year I went over to NC State's practice. They have an analytical guy. He's from Garner, Josh.
Yeah.
I said, tell me I'm not crazy on this. Please explain this to me.
Explain like I'm 5.
My dad's a math teacher. I love math. I embrace the analytics, all of these things.
Yeah.
But you can't put the shift in the numbers can't possibly add up because, again, this variance.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Duke State baseball series this weekend. This season.
Yeah.
Went to all 3 games. Ago, yeah. All 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A couple months ago. All 3 games. Every single time Duke, when they get to a batter with 2 strikes, they shift. Every single time.
But that makes sense to me.
There's some sense there because you're not going to try to quote unquote beat the shift. If there's 2 strikes, you're just going to do your natural hitting.
That goes from that to me. That is using Duke's again. You telling me that initially makes sense on a logistical level, on a logic level, because of what you think a batter will do, regardless of the skill level. Regardless, in that situation, you said 2 strikes.
Yes,
because
they're just going to hit.
Right.
Okay, but I'm sitting here going again, man. This is you talk about committing to the bit in radio.
Yeah,
I'm like, God damn, Duke, you are committed to the bit.
But I get it. I get it from Duke's perspective because you are relying on tendencies in that situation. You're using the analytics to guarantee a tendency to help you with a tendency.
Okay,
I get that.
Sure,
I get that.
No, I understand what you're saying. But I've been ranting about college baseball and the uneven data set for as long as Carolina has started it.
That's fine.
Okay. The game-winning hit in this game ultimately is produced by a left-handed hitter who they shift for with 1 out and only 1 strike. The shift is on. If you go back and watch the game-winning hit, it is not only an out in the first 150 years of baseball. It's a double play.
Right.
You're out of the inning. You win the game. You're in Omaha right now if you just played baseball.
Right.
Don't overthink it. Don't use data because you think, oh my God, this is what the data says. Just play baseball. And I know you don't want to hear that. And do you know how the inning did end? The very next player grounded into a double play.
Yeah.
To the shortstop.
Right.
The very next batter. All I'm saying is just play. Give yourself the best chance. Play the game. Because you know what they did in Major League Baseball after all this analytical stuff? They banned the shift.
Mm-hmm.
They did. Okay? Right. Like, it just feels like to me a scratch-off ticket, if you will. And I know you're going to tell me the odds are different or this or that. Basically, what my guy at NC State said was, it's a coin toss. Well, do you know what a coin toss is not? An advantage.
Yeah.
It's not an advantage. I'm not looking at this through a State or Carolina lens. I'm looking at this like
from a baseball.
You watch the play, and that's the heartbreaking part. Is that's not only it was hit so hard, it's not only an out, it's a double play, and you're out of the inning.
I would say this. I get what you're saying in that go play baseball. I get what you're saying, but that hasn't been baseball for a long time.
Right. Well, that's why the majors had to adjust it back to the point where we're not putting 14 guys on the right side of the bag for the lefty hitter and 14 guys on the left side of the bag for the righty.
We have lost a certain feel for the game. That's baseball though. And baseball is so mathematical. That's why I understood, with the steroid era and things like that, people being super, super upset and concerned about the numbers, because the numbers have always been
what mattered.
What mattered in that, unlike other sports that have changed and evolved over time. I mean, baseball is essentially baseball. So you had it was a cleaner way to compare everybody based on those, on that data set. But still, this is why Stratomatic baseball, was appealing to a certain subset of people, including my dad. But yeah, man, tough. And of course it's not over either, because Duke also found themselves in a tough situation with Murray State. So they play later today. Although the only real takeaways that we had from
what happened to the SEC, Giglio, did you jinx the SEC in out of this tournament?
The only thing that I really picked up on from listeners about Duke, like from Connor, Duke is not fit for a super regional. They had to put a bunch of temporary bleachers up, no alcohol on site except for premium tickets. This place sucks. Go pack, go Racers.
Yeah, I was there for 3 days, and I'm like, the park is actually the sitting area is covered, which the other schools don't have. So that's nice.
It's nice.
But like, please, let me just walk over here and buy a beer.
No.
And it's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so you don't like money. The school that's built on tobacco money doesn't like money, or is now going to find the moral high ground when it comes to drinking a beer at a baseball game.
So their thought process because I've looked into this kind of stuff. Their thought process on that is that they feel like they can make more money off selling the premium tickets that go with the alcohol than not.
But they just introduced that this year, where you sit in the left field bleachers. They have a little setup. It's not the worst idea, and it's actually not that expensive.
I'll see.
It's actually not that expensive.
That's where the cost benefit ratio comes in. I'll be curious to see how long that lasts, or they look at what happened this past weekend, or what's going on right now, and rethink it if they find themselves in this situation again. But it is what it is. Nashman, speaking of Duke baseball, is there a reason why they haven't renovated their baseball stadium? UNC, State, Wake all renovated theirs, and while Wallace Wade is appropriately made fun of, Jack Combs is a baseball field is just as bad. Although Wallace Wade's actually a really nice facility right now. I have to imagine that as successful as Duke has been, and their situation with the DBAP and all that stuff has kind of come to an end. I would imagine that, I think it's come to an end. I'm not well versed in that these days. I got to imagine that Nina and all them are going to find a way to up the ante when it comes to baseball.
I've tried to explain this to people, and here's the easiest, cleanest way for me to explain Duke baseball to you. As bad as you think Duke football was in the 90s and aughts and late 80s, Duke baseball was worse.
Mm-hmm.
Worse. Okay? I'm just looking through their year by year right now. Here's their ACC. They had a winning record in the ACC in 1963. To find their next year where they have a winning record in the ACC, you got to go to 1994. Then from 94, you got to go to, there's a 2-21 in 03, a 4-20, 5-25, 6-24. They don't have a winning record again from 94 until 14 when Pollard gets there.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's done a fantastic job.
He has done an amazing job there. But this was a program truly that was forgotten, was not. And I'm not talking about NIL investment here. I'm talking about, like, if the NCAA said you can have, I think it was 12 scholarships, I bet you Duke could use like 3. Like, they were ignored to the point where, like, yes, go play in your shitty stadium because nobody cares.
Yeah.
Then they made a deal with the Durham Bulls to play at the DBAP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was beneficial to them as they got better. But because of the Bulls' actual schedule, they're not able to host a regional. So they've gotten to the point where they've now regularly made the supers.
That's what I'm getting at.
And it's like, now all of a sudden you have, can you hang on to Chris Pollard? Because he's done an amazing job.
I mean, Duke's got money.
And Duke has plenty of money. But what they really don't have there is the space to make that Combs Field bigger. They would have to basically tear the whole thing down to build it up. I can envision that happening. That takes obviously a little bit more effort than what traditionally has been invested in Duke baseball.
Yes.
They play tonight. I suspect they get themselves back to Omaha. I think 61, if my math is right. Yeah, 61. They went to Omaha. Okay, so they give themselves a chance tonight. They've been in the supers now regularly. This is the first time they've hosted because Murray State basically can't.
They can't do
obviously
it. Right. I was gonna say in previous situations too, Duke has found themselves not being able to host a Super Bowl because of the field. Because of the field.
Yeah.
And because, like you said, they finally got an opponent where they can't, and you're left with no choice but to go there. And again, that's why I get back to, I can envision something happening here relatively soon. You talk about Pollard staying and whatnot, especially with the SEC money that's floating out there.
Like Virginia just lost their baseball
coach.
That
was a big deal last week that we did not talk about. Virginia loses their baseball coach to what? Ole Miss? Was it?
No, Mississippi State.
Thank you, Mississippi State. And it's because SEC money, straight up.
Also think about the SEC
but Duke's
mentality.
Got money. Duke's got money.
Yeah.
And if you want to commit to Pollard to have him stick around, well, what you do is say, hey man, here's this plan for what we're going to do with the baseball field. And again, they have a relationship with CBC that will allow them to still have baseball games at the DBAP and whatnot and make these things work while they're doing whatever it is they're going to be doing with the stadium. I can imagine that's happening. All right, one more sports phone call from a UNC fan.
Just going to come out and say it. I think the University of North Carolina Tar Heels baseball team is cursed. If you don't believe me, check my math on this. But I do believe in the College World Series finals against Oregon State, they were leading in the ninth up one game against them. And who made the error? Oh, that's right, the second baseman. Okay, but that's just one time, right? No. 2019, I saw it with my own eyes. Auburn, Game 3, Super Regional, 2 outs, only gave up a couple runs. Ashton McGee boots the ball right through the wickets. Second baseman. Oh, but you know, that's only 2 instances, not really a trend, you know. Okay. Jackson Vanderbrake, right between the wickets. A putter with no touch. A second baseman, yet again, laying the Tar Heels down and denying them an opportunity at a national championship. Maybe I'll see one in my lifetime, but at this point, unless we got the best second baseman of all time playing second base, probably not going to happen.
Is UNC baseball cursed? Somebody has to be cursed in the triangle, don't they? Never mind that North Carolina has success in just like every sport, right? But yes, Carolina baseball, they're the cursed ones, apparently.
Just so you may, I don't know if it makes you feel better.
Just real quick, to be fair, I understand why Carolina baseball fans would feel that way, because you look at all their sports outside of football, which is its own thing, but you look at non-revenue sports success, Carolina dominates.
Oh.
And baseball
with national titles.
With national titles. Baseball has been that one elusive thing. So I totally get that mindset.
I don't know if this will make you feel better or worse.
Okay.
North Carolina has been to the College World Series 12 times. We can both agree that's really
incredible.
Impressive. 8 times since 06.
Incredible.
Florida State has been to the College World Series 24 times.
How many have they won?
24 times.
0?
Not
Florida State. Florida State has as many College World Series titles as we do.
Would you like to get into would you rather be? Dude. Would you rather be ECU with no trips to the College World Series but consistent success every year?
Yeah.
Or Florida State consistent success every year 24 times to the Holy Land? 0 titles.
If you ask ECU
baseball
fans,
is baseball. That is baseball in a nutshell.
Baseball's dumb. I always say hockey's dumb. Baseball might be dumber.
The dumbest.
Might be dumber.
The dumbest.
Might be dumber. No, ECU fans would absolutely take the
24
because that gives them an opportunity to go do Jello shots. Because
God, that record is just waiting to be broken.
I think there might be. I mean, can you imagine ECU fans?
I got to tell you that the numbers are cooked. Just so you know.
I know they're cooked. It is what it is.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
How you feeling today? You sore?
I feel strangely good, Joe.
Okay.
I feel strangely alive. I had a little bit of exercise this weekend. Went and I played in the pickleball tournament for ALS that Roger Gore put on over in Bethesda Park. By the way, it's it's Durham address, but it's right there by Pryor Creek.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The courts are covered. So I was like, hey man, I feel like I'm in Kansas City where they finally built a dome for Patrick Mahomes. I feel like I'm in Buffalo where they finally built a dome. Somebody with some common sense in Durham County putting a cover on your tennis and pickleball courts. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. I was also humbled though. James and I participated in this tournament. The link is below to donate. We're going to get to that here in a second. But very humbled, Joe. We played 4 games, 1 game to 11 each. We played 4 against 4 different opponents. We did not win any. We had the worst point differential. Your boy over here forgot the rules.
Yeah.
Because you're not allowed to hit the ball. It's
like
you can't
get in the kitchen.
It wasn't the kitchen that got me.
Okay.
It was the you got to let the ball bounce. And I did that about 4 times. James got mad at me about 5 different times when I tried to hit a lob. He's like, you can't hit lobs in pickleball. I was like, okay. So humbling experience.
Yeah.
I will argue that if we were playing best of 3. Even though my stamina is not great, James is, that we would have won at least 2 of them if there was a best of 3 option. We are also improving as the day went along, but there was 2 youths who ran us. I mean, they ran through us like a laxative. Like they just kicked our ass.
Nice.
It was a very humbling experience, but for a good cause. The link is in the below, but also here you see it on the screen if you're watching on the YouTubes. Please donate to this. Roger is very close. Roger had his brother-in-law die of ALS. Okay. Roger's 71 years old. He can beat anybody in pickleball. He's a true wizard at pickleball. Okay. He's very close without real corporate support. This is a true grassroots movement that he has going. He's real close to raising $25,000.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, I put the website up. They're about $800 away from reaching their goal of $25,000.
So I donate. I say this as a way of somebody who turned 50 this year. Chris Combs, who I went to NC State with, and a true legend, and worked at the Wolfpack Club, would have had 2 different reactions from 2 people that I know who died from ALS. Chris would have been there to put his hand on my back. It's okay, Joe. It's okay. He would encourage me. No, good effort, Joe. Good effort. Jonathan Lucas, Jackson's dad, who passed away 2 years ago from ALS, he would have laughed at me because nobody who I coached against in Garner rec basketball wanted to win more than me, except for Jonathan Lucas. And I had to smile on Saturday thinking of both Chris and Jonathan, also thinking about how lucky I am to make it to 50. They did not. So if you can, please help Roger and his fundraiser. It's such an awful disease. It really truly is, and it's underfunded as well in terms of research because
we found that
it remains a mystery to the medical community. So anything you could do to help, please do. Like I said, I'm lucky to get to 50. Think about it. Chris went to school with, didn't get there. Jonathan, my neighbor, and his son is James's age, and I've known Jackson since he was 10 years old, and to see him these last 2 years of college, not to have his dad, the guy who really is the one who molded his baseball career to get him to where he is. It's just so it hurts your heart a little bit. So if there's a little bit of good that we can come out of James and I getting our ass kicked in pickleball by not, let me tell you, you would look at the scorecard and be like, what were you two? We played the first game we played. The 2 guys were like, they were like trying to help. Like, no, they're all very nice.
Everybody's nice. When
they're all very nice.
Yeah.
But they were like, yeah, so you don't want to do this. And then they're like, also like take advantage of James is like young and can move around. Like let him work. You just kind of stand at the net and try to get some winners.
Yeah, dink and dunk. That's what you need to do. You need to dink and dunk.
So yesterday we went out. We were inspired though, so we went out and James. We bought some new paddles just from Dick's, whatever, Target, whatever. And we went out. We played yesterday, and we were finally like, okay. After the surf, we're like, stay back. We had our whole thing on. It made me laugh because I'm like, maybe we should have practiced before we went.
Typically something you might want to do.
So
not everybody can pickleball on a weekend, Joe.
Oh my God. No, I definitely can't. So
it's not how it works.
The next step is the new joint that's on South Wilmington. We need to go check that out. Apparently it's like a palace.
Oh,
and it's
yeah,
also like obviously air conditioned, so I have no excuses.
I mean,
right?
Hey, I mean, if they want to be a corporate champ, I'm not against it. Absolutely not against it. Definitely not. But to your point about ALS, the research to me is still flabbergasting, and that's why they need the fundraising to help this out. I mean, my great uncle had Alzheimer's. I didn't understand what was happening when I was a kid. It was pretty wild. And then Kelly's uncle passed away from ALS. Again, a couple years, and you just see it. You just see somebody. You're trapped, so to speak. You're trapped.
Yep.
It is.
Your brain still functions at a high level.
It is a surreal experience when you witness this happening in real time, and that's why this research and fundraising is important. So go donate so they can make sure they reach that goal. We have now. There's really no way to transition from that, so let's just go ahead and do it. We got the Sports Podcast Festival coming up, week 0, August, and right now we have a sale. Tickets for the Sports Podcast Festival on sale, making it easier than ever to get your tickets with a BOGO deal. Buy one regular price ticket to go see us, Split Zone Duo, and Big Screen Sports. You will get the second ticket for just $30. All you got to do is use the code SPF25 at checkout. So go to therialto.com. It's going to be a fun time. A lot of football. We might invite Felder on stage with us this year just to get loose with it, to talk about Belichick and all that kind of fun stuff. We'll have access to merch, which is always great. And of course, our friends at Home Field will have an exclusive shirt at this event as well. It's a long sleeve shirt. Not a hoodie this year. We're changing it up. We're going with a long sleeve Home Field shirt this year, which is it's an homage to an old radio station. An homage.
Okay.
It's an homage. I had to like Dimitri had this working concept. I'm like, you know what? We've been really good at taking old designs and making them work for us.
Yeah.
May I suggest this? You'll see it. It's a really good shirt. So again, go to therialto.com. Use that promo code SPF25. Buy one regular price ticket. You'll get the second ticket for just $30. Now, speaking of merch, we got a pop-up shop coming up, I think this week.
Okay.
So right now,
this is our basics connection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go to ogtrianglemediashop.com, it'll take you to our Breaking Tea landing page right now. However, this week it's going to flip to our Basics Summer Pop-Up, where we will be bringing back the Drunk OG.
Have you introduced this concept
We
yet?
will be introducing the new shirt concept, which will be available to you in pocket tee and tank top for the summer.
Okay.
And we'll have not one, but 2 hats available.
Whoa.
One in the OG hat vault.
Okay.
This will be your opportunity to buy it this summer, and then it goes away. Never to come back.
Never.
Unless maybe 20 years from now and we have a new format. We got to go from VHS to DVD, and we got to open up the vault again to give you Cinderella, right?
Yes.
You'll never see Song of the South, but that's not the point. You'll see Pinocchio again. Anyway, so we got a new hat design, which will avail this week. And we're also bringing back the flag patch hat. That was never in the vault.
No.
That was just backed by popular design. So be on the lookout for that. We will be, that'll all be available at ogtrianglemediashop.com, which right now takes you to Breaking Tea.
Did you put the new logo out? You should be very proud of this one. This one's a good one.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You'll see it in the music transition.
Okay.
On YouTube, because I incorporated it in one of the music transitions.
Okay.
So you'll see that. So anyway, I think that's all the housekeeping we got going on here. Let's see. Oh yeah, and Brooke is going to be joining us here in a second as well. Where were we? Yes.
Some ads.
Corporate champion.
I was like, here's an easy one if you want it.
Matt Davis, State Farm. Hit them up. InsureGarner.com, 919-779-8277. You're thinking, man, Ovies, how in the world are we going to buy all this merch from you? Things are kind of tight right now. Save money with Home and Auto. Call Matt Davis and you tell him specifically, hey, man, they're about to drop an OG tank top with an OG hat vault. Whoa. Where can I save money this month to buy them? I got you. So just start the conversation. Find out how you can save money at State Farm with Matt Davis. InsureGarner.com or call him directly at 919-779-8277. Also, big thanks to our friends at Two Roosters. I've been powering through this weekend. Jacob duped me into going to getting some pints on Thursday.
That's right.
After we got haircuts for Caleb and Jacob.
Smart man.
On Thursday. And then on Sunday, was it Sunday? No, it was Saturday. Saturday, we went out to dinner, went to Longleaf, and then sure enough, Kelly's like, so
hit the spot.
Can we go to Two Roosters after this? I'm like, of course we can.
I got the watermelon sorbet, my last run.
I got that peanut butter mud pie.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. It's a good thing we like peanut butter.
Of course, we do. And I had to explain that to Jacob because he's coming up with, Dad, I got it. A guava cannoli. I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying, Jacob. Like you got the Cuban thing, you get the Italian thing. I was discussing like a Cuban coffee cannoli.
Mm-hmm.
I get all that stuff. But I said, but no, I said, Mr. Joe really wants to knock it out of the park. So we're going to go with the other direction. What do we love? Peanut butter. So we're going all in on peanut butter. So we will unveil that flavor here relatively soon. And lastly, our friends at Rowback. Check them out. And we talk about t-shirts and things like that and tank tops. But sometimes you got to dress it up.
That's right.
You got to go to Rowback.
I'm double Rowback.
You are
today.
double Rowback.
My money line, and I got my custom zip. Thanks to everyone who has reached out about the drunk owl and the OG flag. You've got Wednesdays when the order goes in. So you got today and tomorrow. If you would like your own custom or OG or Rowback swag, that's giglio.joe@gmail.com. Or if you just want regular old OG great Rowback stuff, go to rowback.com, use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off of your initial order.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is Brooke Pryor, ESPN. She covers the Steelers. Never a dull moment up in Pittsburgh, eh, Brooke?
We're going to have to reach out to our friends at Heister Auto to get her something to compensate.
A car?
Or, yeah, anything that has to make up for the hazard pay you're about to endure with the toxic human being that is Aaron Rodgers.
But here's the thing. I am just relieved that it has finally happened because since the moment we knew that Aaron Rodgers was a possibility, I have just been the Aaron Rodgers beat reporter. Like, I don't know how many stories I've written about the Steelers that have not mentioned Aaron Rodgers' name. So he's been a presence in my life since then, but it's all been like, if he signs, if the Steelers land this, if it comes together, and now it can finally be like, okay, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers did it. Like, we have something concrete to write about instead of like, well, here's what could happen with the wide receivers if Aaron Rodgers comes. Like, there's some relief in that.
So what took so long?
That is a great question that only Aaron Rodgers himself can answer, which he will do when we ask him Tuesday afternoon after practice.
Will he actually answer, or will he just be more vague? And
it'll be a riddle like the Sphinx.
Right.
Like he will say some words.
Okay.
My understanding, though, is that, as he said, he had things in his personal life going on. I'm sure you, like me, are also wondering, was that an Oura ring or was that a wedding ring on his hand when he was signing his contract? Even my mom, who is not a sports person and did not know that Aaron Rodgers signed, texted me yesterday and said, is he married? And I was like, how do you even know that he was or wasn't before this? Like, people care. So anyway, those will be questions. But from what I understand, he was living his life. This was always kind of the plan. It makes a lot of sense in the scheme of the season to have him here right before minicamp, so he's able to get in, build a quick rapport with some teammates, at least like get a lay of the land, get the playbook. go off, resume your spring break, your summer break, and then come back for training camp.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers were always confident that this would happen, which is why they obviously did not draft a quarterback higher than the 6th round. But again, with Aaron Rodgers, you don't know until you know. Like, until he walked in that building and passed his physical on Saturday, I'm going to guess there was still some crossing your fingers, some lemon booty, some like, oh, I really hope that this gets over the finish line.
I'm trying not to put you in a difficult spot, so I'm going to ask you this from the perspective of the mechanics behind this, of how we ended up here, right? I expect an organization like the Jets to do what they did with Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago and allow that circus to just add to the lore of the Jets being the Jets, right? Like, that's what I expect from that kind of franchise. I would expect that out of the Giants too these days, because the Giants and the Jets, I mean, they're basically Spider-Man pointing meme. Pittsburgh has always positioned itself as a different kind of organization. The adults in the room, the people who get it. That's the perception, whether it's real or not, that is the perception. So I find two things happening right now that really go against what I've always thought the Pittsburgh Steelers to be. One is they don't deal with bullshit. So therefore, why are they inviting the bullshit to the building? Because that's what Aaron Rodgers is at this point. So there's that. And then there's the larger conversation about the dereliction of duty of a football franchise to get the quarterback position right. And it's like the decision tree to get to this point where Aaron Rodgers was really your only choice is mind-boggling to me. So what are the mechanics that got us here?
Well, when you talk about the decision tree, the roots of it go all the way back to Ben Roethlisberger. And when Ben Roethlisberger retired, when he decided he wanted to come back another year, all of that, prolonging his career, allowing him to stick around, when in the past, if you'll remember, like, the Steelers were not shy about turning players loose at their prime or before they really went over the hill. James Harrison, Troy Polamalu, like, they have in the past been ruthless with that. And that's not what happened with Ben. They made decisions with their heart and not with their head. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it then pushed them into a quarterback cycle that was very weak that year with Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder and Matt Corral. Like, there was a terrible draft class. Then they go with Pickett, who there wasn't a good answer in that class, but they still drafted him too high. He was not a first-round product. But, like, what were you going to do? You were really stuck. And they also, I can't remember which free agents or trade possibilities quarterback-wise they could have explored that year. But the Steelers historically have not wanted to spend big in free agency or give up a lot in a trade to acquire a known quantity of veteran. Minkah Fitzpatrick was the first time ever, at least in a long time, that they had traded a first-round pick, and that was in 2019. Like, that's just not how they operated. And you also roll in the history with the Steelers passing on drafting Dan Marino when he came out of Pitt. Kenny Pickett is not Dan Marino, but there were ghosts of Dan Marino in that draft room and in that decision-making process. So all of that happens. Kenny Pickett doesn't pan out. They then decide, okay, you know what? We're not going to let this poor decision sit with us any longer. And by the way, the whole time that they're going through this, they're still winning games and they're still in the playoffs, and it is pushing them farther and farther back in the draft order that they're not going to be able to trade up to draft a top 5 pick or one of these premium quarterbacks. So they say, all right, you know what? We're going to get Russell Wilson on the cheap and we're going to get Justin Fields on the cheap. Great. That seems like a good plan. That can be your bridge. And then you kind of let them battle it out. And then you figure it out the next year if Russell Wilson has anything left in the tank, or you cut bait with him and you go with Justin Fields. Great plan, except they were not willing to pay Justin Fields what he was commanding on an open market. This wasn't a matter of Justin Fields feels wronged that he was benched after 6 games because Russell Wilson got healthy. Like, we knew that that's what was going to happen all along. I've talked about Mike Tomlin being a loyalist. The reality is that, yes, the Steelers are the adults in the room, but they're the adults that grew up budgeting and penny pinching, and they have not or do not appear to be willing to pay, especially in the quarterback market, what a starting veteran quarterback commands.
Yeah.
The only starting quarterback that has more guaranteed money than Aaron Rodgers, or that has the only starting quarterback or potential starting quarterback that is getting paid less than Aaron Rodgers this year is Russell Wilson with the Giants. I think he got $10.5 million guaranteed. Rodgers has $10 million guaranteed. So Rodgers has the least amount of guaranteed money for a veteran starting quarterback, not on a rookie contract. Justin Fields' deal was not that much more. Like Justin Fields, before the Russell Wilson deal got done, Justin Fields was the cheapest veteran starting quarterback. So all of these things happen that put the Steelers in this boat of, well, it's got to be Aaron Rodgers or nothing. I mean, I do give them credit because I do think that taking Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or any of the guys, I mean, other than Cam Ward, would have been a little bit like Kenny Pickett 2.0. At least they did not go out and use high draft capital in a weak quarterback class.
Yeah.
Still, now they're stuck with Aaron Rodgers. And
I guess that's like those things didn't sneak up on you. Like Lamar Jackson's not going anywhere. Joe Burrow is not going anywhere. Like you already are in a difficult situation because of your division. And you say what you want about the Browns, but at least they have like a plan, right? They have. Did they? I think they have. I think they have a plan. I do think they have a plan.
Taking a handful of darts and throwing them at the board at once is like not exactly a plan.
I think Shedeur Sanders is actually going to be a hell of a lot better than people think when it's all said and done. I think we got caught up in the Dion stuff, and now that it's all gone away, and he's apparently handling himself fine, I think he'll be fine.
It's June.
It's better than Aaron Rodgers. I could tell you that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Anyway,
let me ask you this. What is the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line?
It is better than it was a year ago.
Okay.
It is still very young. There's some big question marks. Their center position is fine. They drafted a center last year, Zach Frazier. I think that second year is going to tell a lot, but I think that he's the future center of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right tackle and left tackle are a question mark. Broderick Jones played right tackle all last year. He should have been left, but Troy Fautanu, their first round pick a year ago, had a season-ending knee injury, and in his brief appearances at right tackle didn't look great, but he was also a rookie and he was hurt for most of camp. So this is the tackles are young. Center is good. They've got Isaac Seumalo, a vet at left guard, hasn't quite played up to his full contract potential, but he's fine. Right guard, Mason McCormick, he was a rookie last year, still a little bit of a work in progress. This is not the worst offensive line that the Steelers have had recently, but there needs to be some steps forward in development for Aaron Rodgers to feel safe out there.
I ask you this because I believe Aaron Rodgers is like a Mensa level genius. I believe he is.
He'll remind you.
But he might be football illiterate because his last MVP was 21, right? 37 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. In 2021, the Green Bay Packers had not one but 2 all-pro offensive linemen. The man was mad because, quote unquote, the Packers didn't help him because they drafted Jordan Love. Doctor, heal thyself. You were good in part because of your natural talent and your unbelievable connection to Devontae Adams, right? Big part of his success. He was mad because they drafted a quarterback instead of other receivers or running back, whatever. Okay. Meanwhile, you had 2, not 1, 2 all-pro, not Pro Bowl, all-pro offensive linemen. Okay. And he has the success that he did at age 38. He goes to the Jets. He gets hurt on the 4th play of the game. Fine. His biggest problem last year, in addition to being old and being immobile, was the Jets' offensive line. That was his biggest problem. You had the shiny running back. You had shiny receivers. They even went and got Devontae Adams.
He had no time.
And he was still one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. So my brain hurts for you, Brooke, because here's a man who was being helped in Green Bay and just wasn't, he was obtuse in his own evaluation of the roster. You have to have help. He had help in Green Bay. He did not have the right help in the Jets. You throw in the combo platter of his health with the Jets' atrocious offensive line and blocking and scheme and coaching and all those other things. And now all of a sudden you're in a situation in Pittsburgh where, Brooke, you're a lot smarter than I am. You went to Carolina. I was in, I hated science, hated it. Okay. I got in science class, I think it was sophomore year, maybe junior year. We learned about nature versus nurture. Boy, isn't this the ultimate test of nature versus nurture? You have Aaron Rodgers, the ultimate solo artist, ultimate, even to the point where he's blind to the all-pro blockers in front of him. With the franchise, the standard franchise. In a sense, yes, I hate what the next 7 months will be for you. But also, in another sense, I'm excited because now we get to see the ultimate answer to nature versus nurture.
Well,
Will Tomlin and the standard win out?
What's the standard?
Because it's not just Tomlin. It's a Hayward. It's the guys in that locker room who carry that franchise the way that they do.
Brooke, what's the standard now? Is it just a winning record? Isn't that the standard?
That's what it's regressed to. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016.
It's like the Knicks beating the Celtics. Like, let's have a party.
Wait, we made the playoffs. No, not made the playoffs. We didn't have a losing record.
Didn't have a losing record.
Not losing record.
That seems to be the new standard in Pittsburgh, not having a losing record.
I mean, I think that this season is going to go a long way in not defining Mike Tomlin's legacy, but it's going to be a significant chapter in kind of determining the direction of his career from here. Because from what I understand, like he's the guy that really led the charge in bringing Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh. If this blows up, and we know that last year he was the guy that was riding for Russell Wilson. He famously told Brandon Marshall post game when Russell Wilson came back and Brandon Marshall asked him, like, man, like, how'd you have the confidence to go with Russell Wilson and pull Justin Fields even when he was playing well? And Tomlin said something to the effect of like, and that's why they pay me, or that's why I make the big bucks. Like, he has been so out in front of choosing these quarterbacks, even when last year there were people in the building that wanted Justin Fields, wanted them to go back to Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin continues to throw his weight around and say, no, I'm the head coach. I make this decision. Okay, you get to make this Aaron Rodgers decision, understanding that like there were not great options out there, but this is still
that's the thing. He's old. It's not the same. I don't know why we keep acting like, this is 2021 or like somehow everybody's Tom Brady. That's just not the case.
He'll turn 42 this year.
Like
he looked every bit of his age last year. He was.
And I know what's going to happen this summer is that we're going to go through and the tape eaters out there, the grinders are going to highlight some, 30-second clip of some bullshit game for the Jets where that's the Aaron Rodgers that you sign. I'm like, it was one play.
I would encourage you, Brooke, to watch the game he played overseas against Minnesota. That was the game I watched, and I said, "Yeah, that was my Mike Schmidt moment for Aaron Rodgers, man."
Great news! They get to play the Vikings overseas again this year in Week 4. They sure do in Ireland. I'm sure he can't wait.
So and it is interesting what people get wrapped up in. It's like, Tomlin and not having a losing season. Cool, I guess that's like a fun fact. And then same with the idea that Rodgers this season has I forgot what team it is, but he has the potential.
Oh, that's right.
If
they play the Packers,
On Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football's the Packers. My bad. And that he'll be could be the guy who beats every team in the NFL. It's like double thumbs up.
What's that get you?
Like, what's that going to get you? Right? Another darkness retreat? I have no idea. Last question about this before we move on, but there's a tie-in. And the tie-in is you're never going to work in this league again, right? So I was listening to Bomani from Friday's podcast where he brought this up after the Aaron Rodgers news has come out. And he basically said that if it doesn't work out, Aaron Rodgers will never be a quarterback in the NFL again, because essentially it'll lead to Mike Tomlin getting fired, or Mike Tomlin will not be the coach of the Steelers going forward. And I understood his basic premise, and that you can't be this guy that dings this coach, so to speak, because he's so well revered, right? But what you're laying out and how Tomlin's gone about the quarterback stuff, I could also make the argument, not that Mike Tomlin's never going to get another head coaching job again, but I think it will completely change how people talk about Tomlin and whether or not he's evolved to where things are in the NFL. For a young guy, he's not so young anymore, and he could be set in his ways versus the young guys who are coming up that everybody gets excited about.
Mike Tomlin's 53.
Yeah.
But people see him as young.
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right. And I think the way that we talk about Mike Tomlin has changed already over the last 2-3 years. I think especially since Kevin Colbert retired, the former general manager, Because before you could kind of say, all right, all three, Colbert, Art Rooney, Mike Tomlin, have each like a third of the decision-making process.
Sure.
But with Omar Khan taking over at GM, Omar is less of a talent evaluator and more of the guy that figures out the numbers and how to make it work. And that's incredibly valuable, but it gives even more power to Mike Tomlin. When I have conversations with people around the league, there is this acknowledgement that Mike Tomlin is a great head coach. He's a great motivator. He knows how to get the most out of the guys he has in the locker room. He also is so old school, it makes you want to bang your head against the wall.
Yes.
Look at the analytics department that the Steelers have. At last I checked, they had one person. That is not the norm in the NFL. And that's not to say that, like, I think the Browns have one of the biggest. Having the biggest analytics staff does not automatically guarantee success, but it does show teams that are willing to try new things are having more success right now.
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin is so old school and his way or the highway. I mean, watch Hard Knocks. When they're going in to I think it was the playoff game against Baltimore, the strategy was what? Let's watch film of the guys making tackles because I read in a book that if they can see it, like they can help visualize it and they can do it again. What? Like, I understand the thought process, but like we have evolved past that. There are tools past that. There are people that are running analytics on how much like opposing offensive linemen weigh versus the pass rushers and what kind of edge that gives them and like super in-depth stuff. That shouldn't make all your decisions, but it's a tool. And if you're resisting those things, if you're resisting outside help and outside voices, that's how you end up where you are right now, which is stuck in place, spinning your tires and saying, hey, you know what? Let's try this Aaron Rodgers guy. He's worked out in the past when you need to be looking at what will help us win in the future.
Now, look, guys get stuck in their ways and there's this idea that the reason why a coach might not get another NFL job is because he's so old school. But I think Bill Belichick is teaching all of us, oh, no. That man has changed.
I've never been too worried about what everybody else thinks.
We're not talking about this.
What the hell? This is not what we signed up for.
This is so proper, Brooke. Today in Bill Belichick, what do we got today? Our friend Brendan Marks apparently went up to, what was it, Maine?
He went to Maine. He was also in Boston. He was in Massachusetts too.
He had a hell of a lead in the Athletic today, where he goes to this house that apparently is under the Jordan Hudson LLC, and he's expecting to find some other person answering the door, and instead it's actually Bill Belichick. We're going to talk to Brendan when he gets back from his trip. So I bring this up because June 1st came and went, and everybody was having this big reaction to the contract and the buyout reducing and everything else. And what Joe and I have been talking about, and we said it to Pablo Torre when he was on the podcast a few weeks ago when all this was blowing up, that contract detail and people wringing hands over it made sense back in December. But now that we kind of understand the direction that NFL teams are going in terms of coaching, and also as we're coming to find out how people in the league feel about Bill Belichick, there's no NFL job for him to go to. So this buyout's going to be a big nothing burger. Since we've last chatted and with all the stuff that's going on with Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick, what is the general talk about Bill and what's going on at UNC?
It was the subject of a lot of jokes while I was at the last set of league meetings in Minnesota a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's a lot of like, this is why he was not going to get another NFL job. I mean, I think that the public is just now figuring out how entrenched Jordan Hudson is in his life. That was not a secret, I think, to NFL teams when they were kicking the tires on Bill Belichick.
Okay, let me ask you this, because Pablo had a follow-up on this, and he went and searched one of those fan cams back in, I think it was 2021.
And she was in the stands.
She was in the stands, not just in the stands, but she was
in his yes.
And this does not go with the general timeline of what they've been trying to put at people, having that go out there. So was this one of those kept secrets that's now just kind of coming out, or it was one of the worst kept secrets amongst NFL owners and decision makers that ultimately led to where we're at?
I think it was it was on like a need to know basis kind of thing. I think that there's also some hesitancy in the NFL. Like, how much do you want to trash this man and his reputation and start, these whisper campaigns, knowing that like he is the greatest, if not one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. You don't really need to start spreading that stuff until, like, I don't know, it's relevant. I don't get the sense that people wanted to gossip about Bill Belichick in that way at that time, until, like, if he could just go quietly into that good night, great, go live your life. And now that he's at UNC, and now there's more questions about, okay, well, he clearly did want to continue his coaching career. Why didn't that work? Why is he at UNC? All of this stuff is suddenly fair game again. And I get the sense that it was not a surprise that she is running as many things. I think his last girlfriend, Linda, had a very heavy presence in his life. She just wasn't 24 and wasn't like on the field at practice, but she did a lot with his foundation. He has been willing to take a backseat to the women in his life. This is just the most extreme example of this. And the way that Jordan is going about it is what is kind of attracting the most eyeballs and creating so many unnecessary dramatic storylines.
Well said. Well said.
I watch a lot of Bravo, and it really prepared me for this moment in my life.
Maybe that's the beat that you should.
Hey, at least he's trying now with playing some of the greatest hits. He's going on with Ryan Clark. He's doing the sit down with Dabo and the ACC
but
network.
Even those have brought about their own drama. Here's the thing that
I don't think the Dabo thing. The Dabo thing was paint by numbers.
The Dabo thing was paint by numbers.
Well, but the Ryan Clark one, wasn't she in the room and was orchestrating like where everybody was sitting and interrupting and stuff like that?
That's what one of Ryan Clark's co-hosts said until he walked that back. And then there's some stuff that's been deleted off the original podcast. Like, there's all sorts of weird, it's like nothing is drama free. I mean, hell, even talking about Jordan Hudson has led to media beefs that got squashed last week between Bill Simmons and Pablo Torre. So like,
what is
really weird spot right now?
If Brendan doesn't come back from vacation,
oh man,
confirmed Jordan disappeared him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
You know what? I gotta text him right now. Make sure he's okay.
Anyone have his location? Like, we need to make sure he shares that. Put an air tag on that man. Like, don't go into Machu Picchu or wherever you're going without someone knowing. You need a check in and a check out, because there's some weird voodoo stuff happening.
Yeah, that's pretty wild stuff.
I just want to know how in my life I have ended up in a Venn diagram of Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, and is Aaron Rodgers married or not, and also ayahuasca and darkness retreats, and then also Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson and my alma mater, and it's all like, my mind is such a terrifying place. And then for fun, I'm watching Love Island because there's not enough drama in my professional life.
Let's pull out the common thread at the risk of getting you in trouble with your employer. I believe Pat McAfee probably has some blame in all of this, since he is definitely responsible for Aaron Rodgers' bullshit media persona.
Pat McAfee.
No.
Did Pat McAfee decide to do the Enigma documentary? Did Pat McAfee decide to tell Aaron Rodgers to go?
Pat gave him the spotlight, which made people interested in him. Now, I think Pat has handled that relationship well. I don't blame Pat for the access that he got and created and the relationship that he has with him. But without Pat, the aura, if you will, of Aaron dies in Green Bay in darkness. Like I said, you're an idiot. You had two fucking offensive linemen who are Pro Bowlers, and you're sitting here being like,
I disagree, and Brooke can back me up on this.
There's because he was being covered in Green Bay, Joe. He was not in don't do that. Don't give me that look. Okay? Stop with that shit. He was being covered in Green Bay for 20 years in a different way. Once he started doing his weekly hits with McAfee. He was in a different spotlight.
COVID also
blame McAfee. I'm saying that spotlight created a different phase of his life, totally different, to the point where Brooke's mom is sitting here being like, "Is this guy married?"
That is a great point. I also do think that it was the state of the world that led him to be covered the way that he's covered, because he took it upon himself to be misleading with the COVID vaccine stuff, that I'm immunized. And I think part of the background. Right. I also think that if McAfee hadn't come along during COVID, we were all looking for hobbies. That man would have ended up on a podcast on YouTube. Somehow, some way, he would be co-hosting with Rogan. Who knows? He had a lot of thoughts, and McAfee was the first one, or maybe the one that paid him the most to share them. But like,
there was that element.
He was going to share it one way or another.
So before Joe got incredulous because, oh my goodness, I might disagree with one of his theories. The NFL has a nasty habit of falling in love with anybody who seems somewhat smart. Straight up, the media literacy, this is not a knock on you because you get it, but when I look at a lot of NFL talk, there's not a lot of media literacy. They take anybody who sounds remotely smart and they think he's the most brilliant man ever. And that also had something to do with it. So I agree with you, Brooke. It didn't really matter if McAfee was the one who did it. Aaron Rodgers was going to find a way because he knew how to manipulate people just by dropping. Like, people would lose their shit because he used a freaking thesaurus. You know what I'm saying?
What do you use, Joe?
A thesaurus. I can speak. I swear. I talk for a living.
Aaron Rodgers might speak better than you. I mean,
he might.
I will say,
he uses big words. He uses SAT words, and that fascinates.
He went to Cal. He's a Cal Bear. He's a golden bear. I will say,
He went to Harvard before Cal. Aaron Rodgers went to junior college before Cal. So
there's a little bit of a distance. Eric Tulsky and Aaron Rodgers, same guy. Same guy. ACC legends.
I will say, I do like watching. I watched the first 2.5 episodes of Enigma. Then he waded into the COVID stuff, and I turned it off for my mental health. But I do think like his mind is fascinating. Whether or not he's a genius or smart.
It is not, Brooke. It's not fascinating. We all knew guys like this in college. They smoke some weed and they think they've uncovered the world. Congratulations. You smoked weed for the first time. And now you think that aliens built the pyramids. You're not the first guy to think that. I'm sorry. He's not that.
Is he fascinating by NFL quarterback standards?
Yes, that's the thing. That's what I'm getting at. He's fascinating.
Kind of like Bill Belichick's smart by NFL coaching standards. Mike Tomlin's cool by NFL coaching standards
because he wears a leather jacket. You know,
it's also. I mean, it is fair. Like, he articulates things in ways that nobody else is doing. I am fascinated not because he's smart or a genius or whatever else. I just wonder, like, why are you the way that you are? How did you end up reading Ayn Rand during COVID? How did you figure out that darkness retreats were the answer, or ayahuasca? Like, I don't know.
He's like any other bored rich white guy. Again, he's not that interesting. We worked with a guy who had lots of money and did ayahuasca. You know? He also did the weird ass scorpion blood thing, man. So it's like, cool.
And
you
don't want to ask these people. It's not that I agree with
a million podcasts that cover this shit.
Yeah, but I want to ask them myself.
Go listen to a podcast. You'll find out, Brooke. You don't have to get it from me.
No, because I want to be able to push back on things myself. Like, I can't push back when I'm listening to Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan. I would push myself into the river.
I cannot wait for you to get aggregated for your press conferences. I cannot wait.
You know it's going to be just fireworks.
I cannot.
Here's a question.
You know, Pat McAfee. I can't wait till Pat McAfee steps in it because he doesn't know who you are asking the questions.
That's already happened.
He's already beefing with an ESPN person over the TST.
Who?
Yeah, some guy said basically he was making fun of the fact that McAfee didn't show up for his team because of the WWE. And then McAfee got wind of it and he started going after him online. And
didn't he do a show from there?
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's the dumbest thing. That's just McAfee, though. Anyway,
it's also
sorry, bro. Anyway, how
do people to play for $1 million? I know.
How long is it appropriate to wait in Tuesday's scrum before I ask Aaron Rodgers if he's married?
I mean, I would say that's after the main, like after you get past the main, like what was the timeline? What about the Steelers attracted you? Where are you? Yada, yada, yada. I think your in is the, like, where are you? You talked about, like, somebody's going to ask about the personal stuff. That's when you can get in on the ring. That's what I would do.
I think you're right. But man, it is fascinating that everyone's first question is Aaron Rodgers married? Like, suddenly, like, when I'm talking to people, like I did Sports Center yesterday with Hannah Storm and Jeremy Fowler, and before you go on live, like, you're chatting on the IFB line. Yeah. The first thing Hannah said to me was, is Aaron Rodgers married? Not like,
the girlfriend even?
Why now? What's next? Like, is he married? Is that an Aura ring? Again, like, my mom texting me, like, that's what people want to know. So as a reporter, man, it is so tempting to want to jump out of the gate with, are you married? But I know that is not the professional way to go about it.
Look, Clay Travis broke the mold when he asked Tim Tebow if he was a virgin. So at this point, everything's off. Nothing's off limits.
Was that his first question to Tim Tebow?
I think it was his first question to Tim Tebow, actually.
The Daily Mail. Aaron Rodgers marriage rumors with key detail in Pittsburgh signing announcement.
See, that's what everybody cares about.
That's what you got to do, Brooke.
I have an Aura ring. We'll bond over it. If it's an Aura ring, we'll chat about our sleep scores and our stress levels. I'll show him what he's done to me.
I know what the Aura ring is. Do you have to wear it on a specific finger?
So that's the other interesting thing, is you're supposed to wear it on your index finger or your middle finger. So wearing it on your ring finger is odd. Like, it gets better readings, I think, or more accurate readings from like bigger fingers.
Okay, because Aaron Rodgers is the most predictable dude on the planet, it's going to be an Aura ring that he decided to wear on his ring finger to get people going. Because
put it on a different finger for when he goes to this thing on Tuesday.
No, I think he'll keep it on there.
Okay,
and he'll just be like, and because most people don't know how an Aura ring works.
I'm unfamiliar.
I'm familiar with it. I mean, you could do that. You could wear a whoop strap.
Whoop. I say guys typically don't practice with Aura rings on because, like, if you jam your finger or something,
right. So the reason why I asked about that is that you're not, like, what finger are you supposed to wear?
Aura is a brand.
Yes.
Not an Aura.
It's a fitness
correct.
Track.
Okay.
It's another one of these fitness trackers.
It's like a Whoop is what you're saying, but you wear it as a ring instead of.
Yes.
Okay.
It's no different than it's like Garmin, Apple Watch. There's all sorts of ways. There's all sorts of different analytics and whatnot, right? So what I'm getting at here is my prediction is that the Aura ring is what it's been the whole time. He's not actually married. He just wore it on the wrong finger on purpose to get the people going because it's provocative. Because
no one knows what it means. Yeah.
So he's a very provocative man. Very provocative man. Thought leader. Anyway.
A thought leader on fitness trackers and fake marriages.
I'm just flabbergasted by otherwise smart people being duped by Aaron Rodgers' shenanigans as another bored rich white guy.
Shenanigans, if you will.
Yes. Brooke Pryor, ESPN. Have fun. Can't wait till you get aggregated. Big thanks to Hometown Realty for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out, myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. Look, the housing market's kind of a weird spot right now. There's the amount of people coming into the area. You have new construction going up. You have a lot of inventory. This is a lot on your plate. Can you imagine trying to do this for yourself? Absolutely not.
I was just about to tell you, like, when you and I first bought a house, feel like those a completely different set of rules.
Yes.
And if you don't want to be like me at a pickleball tournament, lost because you don't know the rules, well, go find the experts, get the right help, get yourself in a position where you could become a homeowner. Because I can tell you one thing, Jessica's niece has been trying to find an apartment.
Oh,
cost of rent,
dude, it's
Raleigh and the Triangle, like even out in like Holly Springs, because she got a job at the hospital down by Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And my goodness gracious, it's just wild to think
it's off
about.
The charts right now.
The cost of that compared to the cost of the mortgage is just crazy. So get all the information, know all the rules, get the experts. It's Hometown Realty, myhtr.com.
Now, speaking of your home, you're looking to finance it. I know the interest rates might not be the most ideal situation right now. I mean, it is what it is, but there are ways to stay flexible. This is where Miller Lending comes into play. So either you're financing a new home purchase or you have a house right now, you're looking at your debt, you're looking at credit cards, you're looking at those high interest rates, you're trying to find a better solution for this. Start the conversation with Miller Lending. Check them out online, millerlending.com/theog, or call them directly at 919-447-33 77. With no closing cost, you are flexible. You're not doing some weird math equation to try to break even on buying a rate down where it might save you $50 a month or something like that. It's really not worth it in the long run, especially with the rates coming up and down. So stay flexible. Utilize your best asset with Miller Lending.
Let's just say my algorithm has golf swings, women over 40, and some dessert type items, right? Or coffee, right? Like my algorithm's a little bit of a wild ride.
I don't want to look at your algorithm.
Do you know what has now entered my algorithm?
I do not.
These videos that people make now, people kind of our age, maybe in their 40s, of it's like a song is playing and it's like me, it's like my interest rate sub 3%. And then it's like me, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to change it anyway. It's like, don't change. I'm going to do it anyway.
I have not been fed that yet.
I've had 2 or 3 of them. They're hysterical.
All my algorithm is right now is Mario Kart World videos of people pulling off some insane moves on the track. And
because they twitch themselves, or
and I've also been getting into what I like to call Gen Z does boomer humor.
Okay.
So there's been this weird flip where like the younger demo is now taking
Gen
what
Z is
like
James, or
that would be James.
James.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be James. So it'd be like older Gen Z / younger millennial. So like anywhere, like basically your 20s.
Okay.
All right. And them basically remixing what I would describe as boomer humor, like the women be shopping, like stuff that I would associate with, you know, my old colleague.
Another generation.
That's the other, like my old colleague Bill Jordan, like his level of humor.
Okay.
Right. You know,
Bill Jordan get all kinds of shout outs in this program.
I love Bill Jordan. Bill's a real one, dude. I love Bill. I gotta reach out to him, see if he wants to grab lunch. I mean, bring him in studio.
Yeah.
Like, we get some boomer humor on here, right? But you know, it's like it's the equivalent of when I go to Disney World and you see the older couples and like the dude wears the shirt that says "I'm just here to pay for things," or like my favorite Disney villain is my wife. Have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah,
you pretty much lost me at Disney.
Like, buddy, I got questions about you showing up to a theme park that's the happiest place on earth, where it's all about family togetherness and all that stuff, and you're wearing a shirt that says "My favorite Disney villain is my wife." You see what I'm getting at?
Okay.
So that's what I mean by boomer humor. But I've seen the 20s remixing it into their own different way for reels, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of strange. Anyway, Miller Lending, check them out online. This is supposed to be a home field trauma dunk.
Well, we've moved on.
We moved on
to Gordon getting the dump.
I'm sure Gordon probably has some boomer humor he wants to get out of his system. So MillerLending.com/the OG 919-447-3377. What?
I failed us.
What?
I was supposed to show the picture of the gift basket. Tomorrow. Big
So
C's.
let's say
get
you
the picture tomorrow.
Let's say you bought a house. Let's say you refinance. You have to take this thing to close. You need lawyers to do it for you. Whitaker and Hamer could do that for you. WH.lawyer. I want you to touch them all. Triple play. The fat trick, if you will. Buy a house through Hometown. You finance it through Miller Lending. You take that thing to close at Whitaker and Hamer. And then I know what you can do after you sign those documents, Joe.
What?
You go to Simply Crepes and celebrate.
Whoa.
That's what you do.
Whoa.
We had a lot of reaction to our Simply Crepes extravaganza last Thursday.
We did.
Al,
Big shouts to my guy JC, who was like, the way you sold those beignets, he goes, that's going to mean more to those people than anything else.
Al went.
Yeah.
And he went all in, man. He said,
that's strawberry. We didn't even have like
we just ordered the crepes,
like
which are huge. They brought us the hash cakes, insanely good, ridiculously nice folks. It's very, very nice staff. And then we also, what else did we get? Oh, there was another person who had tweeted out to us. This is from Zach. I am sick and tired of you guys finding new ways for me to spend my money. Roback, Two Roosters, Butcher's Market, now Simply Crepes. They nailed everything. The chicken and waffles was something special. No bad choices on the menu. See? Look at me and Joe.
We'll trust the fat person when it comes to food.
Look at us. I just saw myself at the pool. Trust me when I tell you, we have been taking advantage of our food corporate champions. We will not let you down. So go, do it. Do the thing. Go to Simply Crepes. It was a fantastic time, and you will have a fantastic time as well. We started things off with college baseball and tennis. A little Aaron Rodgers detour there with our friend Brooke Pryor. But there are championships being held right now. We have the Stanley Cup Finals and we have the NBA Finals.
Yes.
Would you like to start with the NBA or the NHL?
Oh, I thought you were gonna get us to how we're huge in the UFC community because Sean O'Malley, arguably the biggest star in the sport, clearly is a listener of the OG.
Yeah, so I think this ties into the Stanley Cup Finals. Sean O'Malley, he wins this UFC match.
No, he lost.
Oh, he lost this UFC match. Okay.
He got worked like a rib.
Okay, so he loses this UFC match. Remember, I don't watch the UFC.
No. I mean, he is like their biggest star right now. So I watched this one the next morning.
Yeah,
because I think he's interesting.
I see
the dude who beat him just worked him.
I see Sean O'Malley, and I'm thinking that man is about to serve me the juiciest, piniest IPA I've ever had. That's what I think.
Does have that look. He's got pink hair. He's had some changes in his life.
That's fair.
So
all right, so he loses this match.
He did. He submitted pretty quickly.
Here we go.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was gonna go like that. Unfortunately, it is. Rob, yeah, I just want to stick around and thank everybody that came.
So he used MFer, but in a complimentary way.
Yes, and the difference between an asshole and a motherfucker, he is clearly saying Marab, who won the fight, is one bad man.
This just sounds familiar after the Carolina Hurricanes got knocked out by the Florida Panthers, and I do feel that I said the Florida Panthers, not the Carolina Panthers, right? Just going to double check on that. The thesaurus, the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers through the first two games of the Stanley Cup Finals have shown you they've got some motherfuckers. And this is a thing that, as you watch it unfold in real time, ties back to a conversation that we had during the Eastern Conference Finals, where you had brought this up and that you watch Carolina play, and they've got really nice players, literally and figuratively, really nice players. And they have an elevated game, and you can see that on display. But are they those motherfuckers? And
we know Brad Marchand is.
Yes.
In game 2, it came to fruition again with his 2 goals, including the one in the second overtime to even the series. They're down in Florida tonight. It's interesting. Florida continues to be unbelievable on the road in these playoffs, but at home, see what happens tonight.
We'll see what happens tonight.
What a great series, though. That second game was just fantastic.
Meanwhile, the NBA Finals produced one great first game.
Bonkers.
And then last night's game was a tough watch. Unless you're an Oklahoma City fan, then you loved exactly what happened. But that game was essentially over. Even though Indiana has developed a reputation of, are you down 35 points? Not out of it yet. Not until that final buzzer, right? But they never really clawed back into this thing to make it interesting. So that series is tied up at 1 apiece. But what I always find funny about the NBA is that we get so caught up in ancillary shit with the NBA, including the Larry O'Brien trophy.
Okay.
And the NBA has been getting killed online by not having the pomp and circumstance of a finals. Like this is it. This is the finals.
Yeah.
You should be going crazy for this. There should be some pageantry to it. Something that it's like there's this designation that, man, this is it. This is the big boy.
Give me the anthem. Give me the introduction.
Right.
Give me everything.
So a lot of people online have been wistful over the fact that the Larry O'Brien trophy used to be painted on the floor, used to take up. I mean, you thought Tuffy on the Lenovo court was ginormous. Oh, no. The Larry O'Brien would take up the entire court, right? But they haven't done that. It's just been your normal courts.
Just so much as like even an NBA Finals script somewhere.
It's been essentially projection of advertisements. The final script with brought to by YouTube. But last night they had done Joe Ovies levels of Photoshop onto the court through their superimposing technology. I don't know if they went to the Wikipedia page of the Larry O'Brien trophy
for the logo
and just copy pasted that common rights, the whatever it's called, like essentially the rights free version
use.
Of the free use version of the Larry O'Brien trophy. You telling me with all that AI technology did you not pay for the OpenAI upgraded version that could have given you a better version of the Larry O'Brien trophy? And then it was there for the first quarter and the third quarter. And people were like excited about it because it shamed the NBA into putting something on there. And then they so half-assed it. And like people are asking the question, why?
Yeah.
Why is this the case?
I have no idea.
Advertising. It's advertising.
Because they sold it to YouTube and now it's just a YouTube ad?
It's not just YouTube. It's other stuff. They can cycle through whatever they want.
Okay.
They can cycle through whatever they want. Now, what's preventing teams from painting a new court?
Well, yeah. They change out their courts for the in-season tournament.
Right. That I don't know. But for the NBA Finals, the only thing I'm left to understand is that these ad inventories that they superimpose on the court, you can't be messing it all up for the finals. You see what I'm saying?
I got you now.
So then they were superimposing the YouTube stuff on the other quarters as well for YouTube, right? And they also have the stuff they put under the within the 3-point arc as well.
So your free logo that promoted your brand, your event, now goes away because you've sold ads.
I would have to imagine
the
that's
other
the
way.
case. I would have to imagine that.
Do you know what my actual all-time favorite part about all of this is?
Is what?
Do you know who's doing the complaining? The youths.
Interesting.
PFT, our new friends at PFT, did a whole segment on this. And it's not get off my lawn old people like me. It's the youths who are like, no, wait a second.
Yeah.
I got warm and fuzzies when I was growing up. You watched the introductions. You knew who was playing.
Mm-hmm.
We got ourselves an anthem. They weren't all Marvin Gaye,
No.
but sometimes you did get a Marvin Gaye.
It's too much ad inventory, man.
And now it's like, well, no, we got to promote our pregame.
Well,
I mean, quiz me right now for $2 million to name one person on the ESPN NBA pregame. Right now, ask me.
Who's on the NBA pregame?
I have not a single clue.
Oh, come on. You know Stephen A is on there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Stephen A's been on there. Well, to your point about...
Now ask me who's on the TNT one, because apparently there's a whole big wrestling angle. You called this months ago.
I did call this months ago, and we'll get to this clip in a second. But what I'm getting at with the ad inventory, why aren't these things all happening? The biggest knock on the ESPN, ABC pregame and halftime is that it's just one big excuse for ad loads. That's all it is. So
Correct.
You don't really get an opportunity to hear anybody say anything because, well, we got to get to commercial. I forgot who did the math on this. Maybe it was Barrett Sports Media, but the math,
a minute and a half or something like that.
Yeah, I think every talking head gets about a minute and a half during halftime during that. So that's where we're at. And yes, to the point about the NWO and the way that TNT was signing off and Shaq was talking about we're coming for you and things like that. I mean, the only thing missing is Hulk Hogan with a bad black beard at this point. But yeah, this apparently was on NBA Countdown, and Shaq decided it was Barkley that decided to show up. Who showed up?
So that's his definition as he's trying to evolve it of what a superstar is, Stephen A.
That's a superstar. That's a superstar.
Hello, Malika. Hello, Bob.
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Hold it. Because I'm tired of Kendrick Perkins.
Hey, hold on. I'm getting it. This is how you talk, man. This is how you talk, man.
It's all wrestling, dude. It's all like we called this. And then there are a lot of people who are going to be mad when we get that Inside the NBA Stephen A. Smith crossover, man. A lot of people are going to get mad about this when all that plays out. But just remember where you heard it first. Just remember where you heard it first. Heard it on this program. Just letting you know.
The lightning round.
So we got the house settlement finally.
We did, officially.
Huzzah! I guess.
No, Joe, it's the end of college sports.
Yeah,
it's
no,
over.
I saw Paul Feinbaum. So this house settlement that I feel like we've been talking about for the better part of a year finally got
a year
or more.
Yeah,
it finally got approved, and everything is going forward. I think Paul Feinbaum would be the one who was the most aggregated on this because he got all huffy about how what we know of college athletics is over. The college sports that you knew and loved is now officially over. And I'm just kind of laughing at that sentiment because this has been playing out in real time the last 10 to 15 years. Now it's happened. I'll admit.
It's been accelerated the last few.
I will admit that this happened. If you were to go back to, we were just talking with Brooke about stuff. You know, if you were to go back to 2009 with the NCAA
Carolina stuff,
and Carolina stuff specifically, if you were to travel back in time and say, guys, you were just a couple of years away from none of this mattering. Because back then, it was the end of the world. The end of the world.
You got to watch from Jacob the Jeweler.
It's over for you. We got to shut it all down, all this kind of stuff. Yes, you're talking about Jacob the Jeweler. That's a Lance Thomas reference. where he suddenly Lance
Robert Quinn had the watch, remember?
But remember, Lance Thomas almost got in trouble too because he showed up with a big old Jesus piece.
That's right.
And people were trying to figure out, well, when did you get this Jesus piece? And they basically
he was still at Duke.
He was still at Duke, and they took a loan out on his future NBA earnings. Now, remember,
that was risky.
At the time, the joke was, hold up, you really think you're about to recoup on Lance Thomas in the NBA? Plot twist, Lance Thomas ended up having the longest career out of that group, if I remember correctly. Anyway, he had a pretty decent career. Regardless, I think people who listen to this program understand that the nature of college athletics has changed dramatically in the last 10 years, the last 5 years. So this idea that college athletics, as you know it, is officially over is kind of overwrought because, again, we've seen this happening in real time. I would also say this is going to be the real difference maker of the athletic departments who are run well and have been anticipating this versus those who have been trying to stem this tide from overtaking them. And I don't really think anything is going to change for the athletic departments because they've been preparing for this moment. They've been ready to go for July. They've been ready to go to pay players. Now the question is, going forward, now that we have these set rules, the real question is going to be, how are we going to work the rules? What are the new loopholes we're going to come around to coming up with? How are we going to get money out of boosters?
Yeah, they're creating a commission that's allegedly going to police NIL deals. Good luck.
Good luck with that.
Good luck.
Good luck with that.
No, I don't think it's the end. I think it's the beginning.
Yeah.
And then this is another step in the evolution of college sports. It's a long overdue step. The athletes deserve a portion of the money that they help generate. Again, I didn't turn on the scoreboard, but once you did, we're going to keep track. And once you started taking all of the money in not just the millions, but in the billions range, then you have to share that revenue with the people who help earn it. I disagree with you in the sense that it will not change even smart departments. I think it will.
Okay.
Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, the three most successful athletic departments, they have so much bloat, Joe, that it is going to change. Because for all of those years, as your tax exempt status, you were trying not to show the profit. And you added tutors, you added
strength and conditioning coaches, various other stuff, right?
You name the layers of bureaucracy that they added, all to avoid paying the mostly black workforce. It kind of boggles your mind just a little bit if you just take a half a step back and think about what was happening there. So I think the change that's going to come is those athletic departments now are going to have to be streamlined. I think the second part of that will be, and the ancillary effect of this is, the non-revenue sports are going to change. Now, it could be as simple as the number of scholarships that they get. It could be something along the lines of what their scheduling looks like. During the pandemic, a lot of schools, including NC State, changed how their non-revenue sports scheduled. I think this has the potential to hasten the non-revenue sports breaking away and going back to a regionalized competition. Because there is not one single reason that NC State needs to play Stanford in anything.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
Not even the contract they have with the ACC. There's not a reason. Stanford's got plenty of teams in California they can play in volleyball. NC State's got plenty of teams that they can play in soccer. You do not need to spend the money that these schools are now forced to spend because of their contracts that were done to improve their football revenue. So that's part of this that's really going to change, Joe. And when you have schools like Alabama, Dan Wetzel, now writing for ESPN, wrote about how even Alabama, the richest of the rich, is having an issue with, okay, well, guess what? In the last 10 years, we've gotten really good at every sport. Part of that is your investment in those sports. And part of that is you're so successful. Let's use Alabama or Clemson, for examples.
Yeah.
You're so successful in one sport, or Duke, you're so successful in one sport that attracts other students who want to come to your school. And part of it is being at, like, if you're outstanding.
It's the front porch idea.
Yeah. But if you're outstanding in field hockey and you have the chance to get a Duke education, well, guess what? You're going to go to Duke. You're not going to go to NC State. You're not going to go to even Carolina. You're going to go to Duke. Right. So I think that whole dynamic is about to be turned. And it's going to take not just smart and efficient leaders, but there's a cold, hard reality to this for athletic departments. Something you and I now know as LLC partners. There's a difference between wants and needs.
Yeah.
I would love for us to go to the Final Four every year and be on whatever version of Radio Row there is. I'd love for us to go to the Super Bowl every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love for us to go to the NFL draft. Heck, there's enough local guys every year in the NFL draft for us to go and have some fun and tear it up a little bit, do an OG live, bring the drunk owl, all those things. We do not have the resources to do that, though.
Right.
I would have loved if the Hurricanes made the Stanley Cup Finals for us to go to every game in Edmonton. That would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have the resources to do that. Okay? There are wants and there are needs. College sports is about to get a big old lesson in wants versus needs.
Well, here's the thing about that. College athletics has always been crying poor, despite the fact that they've always had this money.
That's part of the game, right? That's part of your tax exempt status.
Now that game is just going to shift. And I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to get more strain on the boosters more than anything else.
Correct. It always trickles down to the fans.
So to your point, would we have really loved going to Edmonton? Let's say they got into the Stanley Cup Finals. Would they have gone to Edmonton? As a LLC, no, we would not have been able to make that work. However, we do have an NIL budget.
Right.
If you really need it, could I have hit up my dad and said, hey, Dad,
we're going to the ACC tournament in DC. Yeah. Yep.
My dad will be like, I got you. Here comes the booster. Right. So what I'm getting at is everything that you just laid out is a factual truth of the dynamics that are about to change, and I'm not dismissing it. But what I am not here to do is feel sorry for these athletic departments.
No.
What I'm not going to do is not act as though these athletic departments aren't already trying to find ways to wring out as much money as they possibly can to keep all this stuff going. Because there's one thing that we know about sports. It's really hard to give that money back. Really hard to give that money back. Now, can you streamline some things on the non-revenue sports? Oh, sure, absolutely. But there's too much pride. I mean, we just got done talking about baseball. I get let's take the SEC, the richest of the rich when it comes to this kind of stuff. Are you telling me that Greg Sankey is going to allow his membership schools to dial it back on the sports that they truly care about? Football, basketball, baseball in those? No. They like winning too much. Do you think, all right, let's get away from the conference level altogether. Let's take Carolina as another example of this. And what Bubba Cunningham has to, right now as the AD, is absolutely banking on. There's too much pride in Carolina people to allow for non-revenue sports to suffer. Too much pride.
It took Roy Williams and Wanda Williams making a donation in the pandemic in order for them to continue.
Carolina has
one
those
of
people.
those years.
Carolina has those people. Duke has those people. You see where I'm going with this, though? You see where I'm going with this?
I know who doesn't, but what I'm getting at to you is as an enterprise, they need to. When I say it's the beginning of college athletics, they need to figure out how to get to employee status, because you have to control football. Football is completely
that's what we get
in an abyss right now.
That's a more complicated conversation about football breaking away altogether.
Correct, but you also need to get to employment status. You need to get to some control and some ways to govern yourself. Right now, they have no way to govern themselves. They've rendered themselves useless. When I say them, I mean the NCAA and the rules that they've tried to make. I think part of that, Joe, is what you're saying in terms of this the scholarship and how scholarships work and how they're right now being paid for by fans. And if you sit here and say, well, the scholarship should count for something, well, then make that part of their payment. So right now you get zero. And well, if we give you a scholarship, that's, let's just say $50,000 a year or $40,000 a year, or ECU, James pays $18,000 a year to the school. Okay. I'm going to give you $18,000 for you to come and play. That's part of your payment, your quote unquote payment. There's a lot of different ways that they need to be creative to go back and reinvent their wheel. But to your point, I am not here for any kind of sympathy for them, because they've now had decades going back to the 80s when it became a multi-million-dollar business, to the point now where the Big Ten alone has $1 billion annual revenue for their media contracts. So I don't want to hear that you can't share with the people who help you generate that revenue. I do think it opens up a lot of different avenues for problems, but they need stronger leadership to answer the question last couple of weeks. What's your problem with Randy Woodson? That's my problem with Randy Woodson. Voting for Mark Emmert, voting for the status quo, not being a true leader in the industry when you had a chance and a position on the board of the governors to be a true leader for change in the industry. That's what this comes back to as well. So you got to get smarter people in there. You got to get more flexible people in there. And you got to get people in there who understand, there's going to be some hard decisions that are made. The volleyball team really wants to play the Pacific Palisades Community College. Cool. I would love for them to be able to have that experience. But High Point is a 45-minute ride down the road. Go play High Point. Okay. Let the NCAA run a true national tournament, use the money that the NCAA is generating from their men's basketball contract, and let them have a true volleyball national tournament. But those other sports need to be regionalized. Their schedules need to be regionalized. And that's going to be the number one thing. We already saw this in the pandemic. We already did. And I think that's going to be one of the first things that you see addressed.
The last thing I'll say about this, you're talking about leadership and things like that. The obvious thing that's going to come out here is that these leaders are going to go to Congress. They
already have.
I saw that Trump hosted Sankey and what's the Notre Dame AD?
They have a new one, but you're the old guy, Swarbrick, or
no, it wasn't Swarbrick. It was the new guy, or maybe it was the president. Either way, Trump had hosted Sankey and the Notre Dame guy. If I read that,
thank God the Notre Dame guy is involved.
Well, I mean,
that's why the ACC is in the situation that they're.
I had two takeaways. I'm like, is this not what's wrong with college athletics? And like, okay, you have the conference that makes sense that you want to talk to. Notre Dame, okay, fine, so be it. You don't want to talk
Bavacqua.
Thank you. You don't want to talk to the Big Ten commissioner. You don't want to talk to Jim Phillips. I don't know. Hear it from both sides, if you will, right? Work peace between those two dudes. What I'm getting at here is they keep running to DC to solve their problems. Every time college athletics goes to DC, they lose.
Yeah, every time they go to court, they lose too.
You brought up the 80s, right? They had to be told how TV works.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
So every time they go to DC, they lose. So I don't understand why they think that. I'm like, oh, you think right now is a problem? Well, how about they impose these rules that you so desperately want, and then now all of a sudden you feel like you're shackled. You can't do what you actually want to do and all this kind of stuff. So be wary of seeking that help outside of DC, because again, the NCAA or college athletics in general ends up losing in these situations because the philosophy of college athletics doesn't make any sense to people in DC.
We're the only country who doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense. Just ask the Supreme Court. Anyway. Big thanks to the Butcher's Market for sponsoring us. As I mentioned earlier, I went through like a brat sampler. I had a traditional beer brat. I did a jerk chicken brat. And then I also did the Philly cheesesteak brat.
See, this is what I talk about with smarter people and better leadership. I'm over here eating hot dogs.
You just discovered salmon.
They're over there like, hey, we could also put in a meat casing, jerk chicken, and a Philly cheesesteak.
It was good stuff. So it is prime grill season.
We need the Butcher's Market to take over the NCAA. That's what we actually need.
They have it there for you. Now, I'm sitting here talking about brats and various other things. Joe made the healthier choice by getting salmon. You might want to make another healthy choice as well. That's why you go to Happy and Hail. Check them out. Download the app. Use that promo code OG25 to save 25% off your order. And then, if you're so inclined, send us a screen grab of that, and you might be in the running for the black card. I saw the shipping container.
Yes.
That's out there in the Smoky Hollow area for Happy and Hail. You talk about pickleball. There's a training. See, you should have gone there to train.
Should have.
Super easy for you.
Anything could have worked. Just a few reps, and I'm ready.
Yeah,
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hail.
Now, spending some time outside as the weather is getting a little warmer. I'm trying to do some grilling. I'm trying to get the outdoor furniture prepped and ready to go. I didn't want to get bit up by mosquitoes. Mosquito Authority Pest Authority is going to help you out with that. So check them out, bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save. Mosquito Authority takes care of the outside of your house. Pest Authority is going to take care of the inside of your house. And I also had to go under my house. And this is something I have to contact our friends about. I have like portions of a moisture barrier.
Okay.
The whole house is not wrapped though. I probably need to get that done.
You have an actual basement or no?
I have a crawl space.
Okay.
Like a crawl space in which if I hunch over, I can walk around.
You can.
I can walk around it. I just have to be bent over for the most part.
Okay.
So it's not like my original house.
They could take care of you.
It's not like my original house.
I was an OG crawl space.
It was a 1961 split level with an actual crawl space that me and my father-in-law crawled around to put in insulation.
Yeah.
That was not a fun experience.
That's a nightmare. That's nightmare fuel for me.
Yeah, no thank you.
I got a little touch of claustrophobia.
Yeah, I can see where that's a problem. So have somebody else do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Go to bugsbite.com. And speaking of your home, let's say, look, the kids are out of school. You're not having to drive them first thing in the morning. Little opportunity to sleep in, right? But then when you're sleeping in, you notice that there's some light leaking through. That's not good.
No.
You need like straight up blackout blinds, blackout curtains.
I think we need Chris to give us a demonstration on this.
I would agree with you on
Let's
that.
go do that. I mean, if he really wants to come to my house and do it, I mean.
So Bloom and Blinds brought you the After Darks during the Canes playoff run, and they're going to make sure that you are taken care of when it comes to these blinds treatments. And you think blinds, you're thinking like your typical, plastic, whatever. No. These are like fully automated, straight up modern technology.
Can be as fancy as you want, or they can be as functional as you want. They got a lot of options.
The versatility is fantastic. I didn't know that much about blind technology. Who knew?
Not a clue.
I had no idea.
You know what really hurts is when you have an 8:30 bedtime and it's still light out. So that's where those room darkening shades really come in handy for me.
So hit them up, 919-980-9815. Again, that's 919-980-9815. You go to bloomandblinds.com. Let Chris know we sent you. Make sure you take advantage of 10% off 10 treatments or more. It all starts with a phone call, 919-980-9815. It's a good thing we're not doing a podcast tomorrow because we've basically done 2 podcasts today.
Hey, baby, I hear the podcast calling. We should have done some housekeeping, but remember now, Wednesday is the first of Triangle Good, brought to you by Color Graphic.
Yes.
Brief history of Triangle Good, where our first installment will be about quarterbacks in the triangle. I saw this question on Twitter. They wanted a definition of Triangle Good.
Mm-hmm.
I said, for this particular episode, we are now just giving you the 4 best quarterbacks at Duke, Carolina, or State since 2000.
Yes.
There will be an ancillary list that has the prince who was promised.
Mm-hmm.
We will give you 4 of those as well. So if you would like to add to the conversation, call 919-444-2211. Who's calling our phone? You are, because you're going to be part of a brief history of Triangle Good. It's catchy.
I had never heard that song before, and then now I hear it on the radio all the time.
It's catchy.
From Juan, I submit for your off-season protocol consideration, Mount Rushmore of Triangle sound bites.
This is good, Juan.
Moments like the AAA, ceiling, or triple play, ceiling is the roof, amphibious, but that's not the last 25 years.
No.
Fedora's war on foot. Yeah, there was that one. You're better than that. Happy Thanksgiving, all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, happy Thanksgiving. You're better than that.
It's Coach K to Dylan Brooks.
Oh yeah. I was like, which one was that? And I'm
amazing.
If I can find, I'm not a banker, I'm not a lawyer.
That's on there.
That's because that's in the last 25 years.
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
That is a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And now I guess
that's
the Amato,
that could be an ancillary one to our coaches. Because most of those are from coaches, right?
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. And we might have to come up with a Mount Rushmore of sound bites if and only if I can find that original Roy Williams radio clip. It's got to be somewhere on a thumbnail.
I have it's a triple play in the Law of the Wolf intro.
I'm sure I can find
and
that.
Happy Thanksgiving. Me.
Did you know the triple play was a setup, by the way? The Tom O'Brien triple play was a setup?
No.
If we do this episode, I'll tell you the setup.
Okay.
Like Tom wanted a specific person to ask him a question so that he had his bars
ready
to go.
Okay.
It was a setup.
He didn't just want to drop the bars. He wanted to be prompted.
You, sir, you prompt me and I'm going to drop bars.
I think I know the answer to that one.
Yes. Okay. I'm trying to remember because you were there for it. I'm just trying to remember.
No, I was
weren't
not
there for that?
No.
Oh
no.
All right. Well, we'll save that story time for a brief history of Triangle Good. Speaking of our food recommendations from Heel, Elite Sunday Vibes at the Longleaf.
Ooh.
And
they still have the OG Light?
Yeah, I went on Saturday.
Buddy,
they still have
so
OG Light.
Scarce.
So right now, because I've gotten some Hey Joe, we'll close Hey Joe on this because people have been asking about the beer. Is the beer still available? And is the beer going to be made again?
Okay.
The answer is yes, kinda, and yes, it will be coming back.
Okay.
So I say yes, kinda, in that I know for a fact Longleaf still has it because you have to ask for it.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure it's not on the menu. But if you ask for it, they have it. So I cracked one open on Saturday. I know that Graffiti in Cary has them for sale. So go hang out, throw some axes, check out the bourbon list, enjoy an OG Light. I've been told by one of our guys that they had purchased what he believed was the last 2 cans at pharmacy.
Yes.
So they're gone at pharmacy.
I was worried about that. Yes.
So they're gone at pharmacy. Have you checked in with Anthony to see what the supply is at Oakwood Pizza Box?
There's still some at Oakwood and Shady's.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. So there you go. There are your 4 locations. Longleaf, Graffiti, Oakwood Pizza Box, Shady's. They still have the OG Light. And the reason why is because they're just selling individuals. It wasn't like people going to the barista and buying cases of it.
Correct.
Which you all were crazy for that, but we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as is OG Light making a comeback? Yes, it will be making a comeback. What I'm trying to do, I've not heard back from Greg.
We did give him one.
I'm trying to get it on tap at the Raleigh Times permanently.
We'll check in on him.
Got to check in on that.
Yeah.
So I would love to have it on tap permanently at Oakwood. I would love to have it on at Oakwood Pizza Box. I would love to have it permanently on tap.
Right now, we're just in cans.
But it's just in cans.
July 17th, we will be tapping a keg at Shady's. We'll have a live show.
It'll be a good time. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for our 2-hour podcast Odyssey.
Extravaganza.
Which, again, counts for Tuesdays since we're not doing podcasts on Tuesdays.
Nobody can podcast on Tuesday.
Not now. Definitely not now. We'll see you. We'll see you Wednesday for a brief history of Triangle Good.
Yeah, get those calls in.
Call and give us your Mount Rushmore of Triangle quarterbacks, college quarterbacks of the last 25 years. We've gotten a few. We want more of them. We'll see you on Wednesday.